seconds. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In your face, all over the place. We're online 24/7. 24/7. You're listening to the hottest internet station.
From beautiful Saline in southeastern Michigan.
Around the world at sunsky.mysteries.com.
This is the 2009 Top 10 Webcam in the World winner. This is SETV.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're going to have an exciting show tonight, so get your tape out and tape your socks on so we don't knock them off. One thing has occurred to me over the past few months that I have really felt strongly enough about, that we here at SETV decided to take that boatload of cash we had sitting around and leave the dock with it and head out into the stormy seas of social entertainment. One of the primary issues, as I saw it, was that the information is out there, based on science information, mind you. The kind of stuff that's really, really good. And there is a lot of research out there that is biblically based, as well as information from the Colburn Bible. There is science-based information out there. There are people out there that have the kind of information that people need to see. But sadly, many of them are still asleep at the wheel of life. Thus, how to attract them to some place where they can learn about it at their own pace. That was the key as I saw it. Thus, the idea of our new social website was born, but with the twist of having the type of information that we present here on Surrounded by Idiots with our guests. Now, we could have started a page on Facebook, but to what end? We suspect that Facebook is not so hospitable place for these kinds of theories. Powers that be sort of watched place, if you know what I mean. Now, what if you could have some place where people could go that has features like a wall, friends, photo albums, and as a bonus, an area to discuss what we talk about here on the show? What if you could bring your friends there, log in with your Facebook account, log in with your Twitter account, and become a member of a community dedicated to bringing to the public at large, mind you, information that we know they need to learn? And that's why we started the social site, which is called wakeupin2012.com. wakeupin2012.com. We have it pointed to one of our other websites. You'll see it come up as SalineETV.com when you go there. That's fine. You can go to Saline ETV too. Go there, check it out, and see what you think. Now, the end is coming. We know it's looming right around the corner. Now, here's some facts for you. This is beyond comprehension for most people to believe. Right now, I'm talking about right now, in the White House, we have a guy that's called the Weapons Czar. The guy's name is Ashton Carter. His stated goal is, the actual publicly stated goal is to institute the United Nations ban on firearms in the United States. So just forget the Constitution. We're going to go ahead and do that. Joshua Dubois, the so-called faith-based czar, he's seeking a separate black nation and wants to remove guns from private ownership here in the United States. There is a book that has been published. It's from the Nazi occupation of Greece. It's called The Starvation Recipes. It has become a hit bestseller in Greece and elsewhere in the world. You better get this book. You're going to need it sooner rather than later. People are actually scrounging for food in garbage cans. And I'm not talking people like the homeless people. We're talking about regular, normal, average, everyday people like you and me. They're looking for food in dumpsters. The New York Times, they had an article about how a barter system has sprung up here in the United States to try to work around a broken financial system. you better start saving a lot of junk. Maybe those hoarders are going to be the new millionaires. Of course, it's too late for that. Buying too much useful stuff marks you as a possible terrorist. Portugal and Spain and Greece have been downgraded again. If those three fall, what do you think is going to happen to the euro economy? It's going to be crash and burn, baby. So go ahead and continue to dismiss all of the information that's right there in front of you as they kick the can down the road some more. Now we're seeing reports of people that are seeing a new red star here in the northern hemisphere, about 70 degrees up. The jet stream has changed. The magnetic pole is racing towards Europe. They're having an insane type of winter there. We had a guest on last week that has worked out the hard science behind it. The only conclusion that he can come to is that the destroyer, Naribu, Planet X, is messing with us. So the question is this: does mankind go insane every time this thing comes around? Money is fleeing Europe. The Italians, bless their hearts, have a new rule. They are limiting the amount of cash that their citizens can have in hand. You have to use a debit card. They don't want any more physical cash out on the streets. The New York Times has an article about Greek bankers that have pulled 1/3 of their personal money out of their own banks. And what are they doing with it? They're burying it in their backyards. That's according to the Greek bankers themselves. Any bets as to whether or not that's happening here in this country? If you ask me, Planet X had better hurry the heck up and get here before this all falls apart. Now, our guest tonight, he is one of those people that is in high demand on the radio show circuit. Of course, we do that with a twist. We have the audio side as well as the video side of the show. When we here at SunSkyMysteries.com and Surrounded by Idiots need to talk to somebody, and we need answers, we talk to people like our guest. We would like to welcome our good friend back to the show, Lucus. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. How are things going over at the Rabbit Hole family of websites?
Not bad. It's been an interesting year for sure already. Things are picking up as we expected they would.
Yes, it has been. It's been getting just plain crazy out there, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of it all. There's just so much going on, from the strange sounds to the weather, you know, the 15 feet of snow over in Europe. It's definitely been picking up this year. Yes.
And one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on tonight, and this is the first topic that we're going to hit on tonight, because this is pretty important. Last week we had a fellow on by the name of Paul Begley. He's a, believe it or not, he is a Baptist minister in Indiana, and he does a lot of YouTube videos and whatnot, and he started noticing the 188-day cycle, and we had him on last week, no, 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, and he gave us a lot of excellent information. And you're the guy that's done the new DVD about it. How many DVDs is there? Did I see that on your website where it said you have what, 2 DVDs? Is that right?
No, there's 3. The original one is the Destroyer Star and the Future of Mankind. Then the next one is the Return of the Great Dragon, and then the last one is 188 Days. Okay. Okay. So, if you want to know about this 188-day cycle, you need to get over to rabbithole2.com. And as a matter of fact, we happen to have the trailer for that video, and I'm going to go ahead and play that now. And hopefully all of this is going to work out when I hit play, because we have to play the audio on the audio stream as well as the video stream. So here we go. I am going to attempt to do this. Hold on while we crash and burn. there we go. That is the trailer for your new video. This came out in November, right?
Yeah, November 22nd.
November 22nd. And more than likely, a lot of things have happened in the meantime. And I have up here on the screen for the video side of those of you that are watching on the video side, and I will read this so that the people on the audio side can hear it. We took a look, Lucas, at the 188-day cycle, and I started doing some research on it, and it's probably the same stuff that you have. But here's what I found. April 7, 2009, off the Kuril Islands in Russia, a 6.9 magnitude earthquake. 188 days later, September 2009, the Sumatra, Indonesia region is hit with a 7.6 earthquake. 1,000 people die, 250,000 people lose their homes. 188 days later, the Chile earthquake happened. That was 8.8 on the Richter scale. And then in September of 2010, 7.0 magnitude hits Christchurch, New Zealand. March 11, 2011, a giant earthquake hit Japan. September 15, 2011, the Fiji Islands are rocked by a 7.3 earthquake, all within the 188-day window. Now, our science producer, Boris Artemenko, he has been looking into this data cycle, and he tells us that he believes, and this was written about 3 weeks ago. This is before all the big hoop-de-doo about all of this started on all of the websites. He thought at that time the March 21, 22 potential earthquakes are Death Valley, Baja California, and the Canary Islands. And that's what he came up with. And now we see that the United States Geological Service has opened up a California volcano observatory in Southern California at Clear Lake to keep an eye on the volcano there, because apparently it has just become active. So what have you new information do you have to add to this particular mix?
Well, Mount Cleveland lava dome has grown by 25% in the last week. So that's up in Alaska, on that little island off the coast of Alaska.
25%. That's huge.
Yes. Yeah, so that's, the volcanoes have been sprouting up everywhere, picking up their, or I should say awakening from their slumber. And, yeah, it's so much going on. I suspect also that the next big one is going to be somewhere on the west coast, whether it be Alaska, Canada, maybe somewhere in California or Washington, because if you look at all the big quakes that have happened across the Pacific Plate, all that pressure that's on the plate has to be shifted somewhere, and it's probably being shifted over to the western part of the United States, because I mean, you've had all these big earthquakes in Japan, and if anybody wants to see anything or something really cool, you can go on YouTube and find that video where the Japanese have put sound and visualization to the earthquakes for the year 2011, and that's an absolutely amazing video.
And that's on YouTube, you said?
Yeah, I don't know the name of it. Just probably type in sound visual earthquake 2011. You'll probably find the video. It's really amazing stuff.
Yeah. And what do you the earthquake monitoring that they're doing in California is Mount Shasta, Medicine Lake Volcano, Lassen Volcano in Northern California, Long Valley Caldera, the Mono Inyo craters in East Central California, Salton Buttes, and Ubihi craters in Southern California, and Soda Lakes in Central Nevada. Now, do you think that this is part of the Yosemite supervolcano chain, or do you think that's completely off the table?
Completely separate system, but they are all seeming to they seem to be becoming active at this point in time across the, not just here but across the world. I mean, you look at everything going on. The volcanoes have been Indonesia, Japan, everywhere they're picking up.
Do you think this is Planet X getting closer?
Well, yeah, I mean, you figure that the lava underneath the crust is liquid, and so you have a gravitational pull. That's why we're having this 188-day pattern. You'll notice that we fit right into the perfect pattern every year for at least the last 6 or 7 years. Right around November, towards the end of November, December, earthquake activity drops off tremendously, and then through January, and then in February starts to pick back up again, and then peaks in March. So we're starting to see that again. If you look, there were just today, I believe there was a 6.7 and a 6.0 today, one in the Solomon Islands and another in Japan. So we're seeing a dramatic rise in earthquake activity as we get closer to that March
21-22 date. I saw California had some pretty good shakers yesterday. What do you make of that? I think there was a 5.6 and a 5.4, wasn't there? In the San Francisco area.
Yeah, it was up in Northern California. They well, it's all connected. The whole thing is all connected. You have to look at it on a larger scale. When energy is transferred, when a plate shifts on the other side of the world, the energy gets transferred to the other plates, and then that energy has to be transferred. You can never destroy energy. It just can be transferred, and that goes for the same with earthquakes. The energy is never destroyed. It's just transferred into different parts of the plate, and some of it is transferred to the ground where it vibrates out. But besides that, you're going to see more and more of this as we get closer to the time frame.
And what do you? A lot of people are seeing this new red star. I've got a photo of all the various tectonic plates around the world up on the screen now for the viewers. You can see them marked in red and whatnot. What do you make of this new star that people are seeing, the red star? They're saying it's about 70 degrees above the horizon.
To be honest, I don't know. I haven't even looked at it or looked into it. I've kind of been desensitized to the second sun, extra star, bright light in the sky thing because, I get sent videos constantly all the time of, hey, look at this, check this out. And I've come to the conclusion that pretty much when it gets to a point, we're all going to see it. You know what I mean? So I don't, to be honest, I don't even know which one you're talking about. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, I just heard about this afternoon after I got home, and I said, "Well, that's interesting. I wonder if Lucas has heard about this, because it's sounds pretty bizarre. And people seem to be pretty sure of themselves that they're actually seeing a red type of star where one is not supposed to be. So."
Well, it's a pretty clear day out here. Where is it located in the sky?
Let me see if I can. I think it was in my email somewhere. You go ahead and chat for a second while I go ahead and pull up my email.
Well, I don't know what to be honest, I'll go out and look at it tonight, and first I'll look at it with some binoculars, see what I see. There's just been so many false alarms and people crying wolf and second sun here, second sun there, this and that and the other, that I kind of stopped looking at those videos maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I just kind of brushed them off and said, when something is there, everybody will approach me with the same video at the same time and be like, what is this? And that hasn't happened yet, so.
Yeah, that's, unless it's a pretty convincing image or a real interesting photo or video. It's just a whole bunch of Me Too, as far as I'm concerned. I just don't. And we've got to have hard evidence, and that's what we try to deal with here. Is hard evidence where you can say, look at this, look at this, look at this, and this is what is happening right now. And like you said, until we get some really good high quality videos, we should be, I don't know, we gotta be careful with what we're talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, a portion of it is people jumping the gun, sun dogs and seeing reflections and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think a good portion of it is disinformation, too. Poisoning the well. You can clearly see with the strange sound things that happen. A few videos came up on YouTube, and the next thing you know, YouTube was saturated with hundreds and hundreds of fake videos, and you can't even find the real ones, buried in all the fakes now, so they've successfully discredited the whole strange sounds phenomenon, which has been proven real by a geophysicist.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have the strange sounds right here queued up, ready to go. These are the trumpet sounds and the rumbling sounds that people have been hearing. Have you actually heard any of these yourself out in the real world, or have you just heard the recordings?
Okay. When I went out one morning I went shopping at about 3 o'clock in the morning. I like to go shopping early in the morning because there isn't hardly anybody there. So I went out and I heard something coming from the Rocky Mountains. It sounded similar. It was very low hum. I went in shopping. I was in there for an hour and a half. I came back out. The noise was still going on. It went on till probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 in the morning, and then I didn't notice it after that. After traffic started picking up and everything, you couldn't hear it after that. But so I don't know. I don't know what that was. It could have been, for all I know, some sort of machine, but I'd never heard it before.
The Super Air Force atomic-powered tunnel boring machine.
Could be.
Could have been that. I've got the. Let me play the sounds for the audience. I don't know if everybody has had a chance to hear these yet. I've managed to find some recordings and downloaded them and got them cleaned up and basically took out the background noises and everything else so that you can hear them. The first part is the trumpets that everybody has been hearing, and the second part is the rumbling sound, probably the same thing that you heard. So let's go ahead and play that, and it'll be coming up in just a second. Here comes the rumbling sound. I imagine that second one is probably a lot closer to what you heard out there.
Yeah, the one I heard was just, I don't know how to describe it. It was a low-pitched hum that was coming from the Rocky Mountain area that I had never heard before. It might have been something that had, something that's just regular that I just never noticed before. I was, it was real quiet out that night, but we'll have to see. These sounds have been proven to be real.
Yeah.
And 90% of the sound is not even audible to humans. It's below the threshold of human hearing, so you're only hearing 10% of the sound that's happening.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I got somebody sent me an alert earlier today, and it's actually something that I have been experiencing myself. It's people in Australia, Canada, the United States, New Zealand, Spain, Brazil, Mexico, the UK, Norway, Costa Rica, Russia, the Ukraine, and the Czech Republic have been reporting these sounds. They've dubbed it the hum or the buzz. It's essentially pretty close to the ELF or ULF range of the threshold of human hearing, and it's around 25 hertz, and some of the sounds are up around 20,000 hertz, I guess. And it's kind of weird, Lucas, because it's like tinnitus. You know, the ringing in the ears.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, and not only have they been hearing these horns and the this rumbling sound, but a lot of people have been getting tinnitus. And I've actually been getting that myself, and it is the most bizarre thing because I don't have tinnitus. And all of a
I've
sudden,
had it now for, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
that all of a sudden my ears just start ringing, and I get dizzy. And then about 10 minutes later it goes away. And there's some thought that all of these sounds and this experience with the tinnitus are interrelated. And what I'm wondering is, does this have anything to do with the approach of our friend that's coming in?
Oh, I'm sure. Pretty much everything you see has to do. I think everything has to do with this. It's probably why ants live underground. You know, millions of years of living through these catastrophic events. They've learned to go underground to survive, and that's why you can't destroy them. You know, so I think that yeah, I've had the same tinnitus in my ears for, I don't know, weeks now, and it's happening right now as I'm talking to you. It's just a tiny little. It sounds like little birds chirping. You could barely hear it. Sometimes it gets worse. Other times there's heavy waves. Like all of a sudden, I'll just, ears ringing like they've never rang before. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, it is bizarre, and I think it goes back to. I think this goes back to what I was talking about in the monologue, that something's affecting humans all over the planet, and it's just making people go bonkers. We're just going. We're all getting crazier than a bunch of crap house rats. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
My producer just sent me the text of what these people are seeing. In the east, about 65 to 70 degrees above the horizon, there's a bright red star planet. It is sort of in an area that I see the twinkling red, white, and blue star. In fact, I think that it is that star, just saying red tonight. So it's hard to say if it's. I'm kind of thinking it might be Mars, but I'm not sure where Mars is supposed to be in the sky.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it tonight once it gets dark out.
Yeah, see what you think. Of course, it's cloudy here in Michigan. Now that springtime's coming, we're starting to get snow, so go figure. It's,
yeah.
Now, what about the weather patterns? Now, I'm sure that you've noticed the weather here in the North America has gone a little bit weird, as well as in Europe. Now, I saw an article that in Russia, something like 400 people have died from the cold this winter, and it may actually be more than that. And you were telling me before the show there was, what, 15 feet of snow someplace in Europe?
Oh yeah, in Romania and Albania, that whole area there, they've got 15 feet of snow. They just got buried under. 15 inches of snow would shut down most cities here in the U.S. and we're talking 15 feet. That's the kind of, see, that's how glaciers form. It'll snow like that and snow like that once the weather patterns change, and then the snow won't disappear in the summertime, and then next winter it snows and it just keeps adding, and then eventually the pressure turns those things to ice and then they form glaciers.
Do you think that's what we're seeing the start of?
Well, yeah. I learned, a couple of years ago that we actually started going into the Ice Age 3,600 years ago. The warmest part of the planet was, back before the last 3,600 years, when the ocean levels were 17 feet higher, the temperature of the planet was 1.5 degrees warmer, and the ice ages, they don't happen instantly. It takes approximately 10.5 to 11,000 years from the warm period to get all the way to the bottom of the ice age, and that comes in little spurts. Every 3,600 years, the temperature of the planet will drop about 1.5 degrees until we finally reach rock bottom. So it actually started 3,600 years ago. We're about to hit the second phase of dropping down into the ice age now.
And it looks like, to me anyways, it looks like Europe is going to be hit with the brunt of it this time, unless something really changes over on this side of the planet.
Well, it's gradual. You know, the glaciers will start, and they'll start to build, and then, you know, and then another 3,600 years from now, the temperature will drop another 1.5 degrees, and it'll get a little colder, and then the world will spend, it'll happen one more time, and then the world will spend about 80,000 years in that ice age before we come to another warm period, if it follows the trend that it's followed for the last, you know, 500,000 years.
What do you what do you think Planet X's involvement in this is?
Well, personally, I believe that it drags us away from the planet most of the time. I mean, away from the sun, and then sometimes it drags us back towards the sun. If you notice, the way they found the outer planets was because they put little dimples in the orbits of other planets that were in front of them. So when this object comes through, it's going to basically do that to us. It's going to put a little dimple in our orbit and change our orbit from probably 365 days to 370, 371 days. It'll pull us away from the sun a little bit, like it did 3,600 years ago when they had to change their calendar from 360 days. See, it all fits perfectly. That's why it was warmer. The Earth was a little bit closer to the sun. All of a sudden, the object came through. The ocean levels dropped. The temperature dropped. They had to change their calendar from 360 to 365. And I suspect that's what's happening right now. It just pulls us away from the sun a little bit.
That, who was I talking to? I think it was the guy that we had on last week, the guy from Dubai. He's worked out the actual geological mechanics of how Planet X is affecting us with the magnetic pole. He thinks the reason why the magnetic pole is flying across Siberia is because of Planet X approaching and sending the magnetic pole kind of off on a wild goose chase up there.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, it's you think about in the 188 Days documentary, I do a little demonstration where I show how the magnetics of it work. You know, the planet Earth is a giant magnet because of the core of iron spinning around. It's creating a giant electromagnet, and so you have a north and south pole, just like any refrigerator magnet. And this object also has an amazing magnetic field that's probably more intense than the sun's. And as it comes through, it's just like a magnet. Its north pole is going to grab our south pole, and basically it's going to follow it. It's going to follow it through the solar system.
Yeah. Hang on a second here. I am bringing up a PDF file that we were using last week, and it actually shows that magnetic center of the core. If I can actually find it here in the document, it's like a 50-page PDF. Oh, there it is right there. The outer core, the inner core, the pole of the magnetics, and the magnetic axis of the Earth are all interrelated. And does it seem to you that the cold weather, this I guess we could call it pre-ice age weather, does it seem to you like it's actually flowing in the direction of the magnetic pole?
I haven't really taken notice to that. I'll tell you what I did see recently was somebody had compiled a radar of the United States for 14 years, which was amazing because you can clearly see that after 2007, things changed in the United States for weather patterns. Everything was flowing across all nice up until 2007, and it gets all weird and jumpy. So things have definitely changed, and you know, that's what a lot of, I mean, this was all to be expected. You know, they built the Georgia Guidestones. Those things are more of a marker to figure out how many days are in a calendar year than they are the words that are put on them.
So do you think that the reason for the Georgia Guidestones, do you think that's what, a way for future generations to figure out how long a day is or something?
Well, all right, when you're talking about growing patterns. The most important thing is figuring out when the year is and when the seasons are. And when this whole thing changes, that's all going to change. I mean, everything's going to change. We're going to have to restart the calendar all over. Now, the Georgia Guidestones have holes drilled in them so that the sun reflects a little dot on a certain part every day at noon. And the way they're designed, when the axis shifts, will allow them to calibrate how long a day is, which will allow them to calibrate how long a year is to figure out all the seasons.
That's almost seems like somebody's thinking ahead, like somebody, I'm not going to say the powers that be, but somebody in charge of something has figured out what's going on, and they're planning for the future, like the Denver airport. I guess they're moving a few more departments out to Denver.
Yeah, I mean, they've been planning. I think that they've known about this for at least 100 years, and that they've actually... Okay, they've known about it through ancient scripture and ancient writings and things like that for at least 100 years. And they actually started honing in on the object in the late 70s, early 80s, right around the time that the Reagan assassination attempt happened, and everything started. That's when it all, that's kind of like the beacon of when it started to go haywire, right about the 1981 Reagan's assassination attempt.
So that was I've got your research page up here on the video stream, and we're seeing Astronomy Magazine, New York Times, Newsweek, Astronomy Magazine, the IRIS satellite, New York Times again, Washington Post, U.S. News and World Report, and the Science and Invention Encyclopedia. What new information do you have for the people regarding all of this that they know about? And is there anything new that's going on?
Well, the propaganda campaign, that's gone into overdrive.
Yeah.
You know, it's really hard to tell what's real anymore. There's just so much crap being forced down everybody's throats from, you know, as soon as those strange sounds started, they pumped the YouTube full of fakes, and along with all the fakes, see, the way it works is as long as the news doesn't talk about it and scientists don't come out and explain it to people, what happens is then that leaves room for 50 million people to form 50 different opinions and theories, and it totally clouds everything. Nobody works together, and nothing ever gets done, and that's exactly what they want.
What, now you heard at the beginning of the show, I've started like a Facebook kind of a website where we can gather people and the information all together. What, how can we continue to try to wake people up? I mean, that to me seems like that's the big thing, is getting this information in front of people's faces.
Well, concentrate on people that are willing to accept the information. You know, people that brush it off, just ignore them, because I mean, you'll waste so much time on one person. You could waste years on one person, but in that time frame that you wasted on them, you could wake up, you know, 200 other people that are receptive to the information. And I've learned a long time ago to just not care about the debunkers and not care about the naysayers, and just ignore them and just find the people that have the open minds and are looking for the information.
Yeah, it's it occurred to me a year or so ago that you know, if you haven't seen it by now, you know, time's basically up because of, I mean, you can't, you know this, you can't even do any food storage anymore, because now you're listed as a quote-unquote potential terrorist for having extra food in your house. Is that insane or what?
Well, what's insane about it is you got these different agencies working against each other. On one hand, FEMA tells you to stock up and be prepared, and on the other hand, the Department of Homeland Security is telling you you're a freaking terrorist. You know, this is ridiculous. You know, everybody should stock up and prepare for what's coming. And you know, I think that a lot of this is scare tactics to try and keep people in line, because, like you already said, people are getting crazy. That's one thing. And two, you got to expect the government's going to crack down when a a cosmic event happens because of the fact that there are lots of bad people out there. Whether anybody wants to acknowledge it or not, there are millions and millions of bad people walking around there. Some of them are in prison. Others are walking around, and the only thing that keeps them out of prison is fear of jail sacks. So they tote the mark. But if there's no police to come and stop people, a lot of these people are going to be acting out of line. So they've got to be dealt with somehow. That's probably what the FEMA camps are for, and things like that.
I've been kind of actually thinking about the FEMA camps myself. Is when this economic hoop-de-doo over there in Europe finally crashes, it's going to drag us down too. I'm kind of thinking they got the FEMA camps there to put people in, because there's going to be so much massive homelessness and joblessness in the country, and people are going to be there's not going to be enough food into the dumpsters anywhere for people to survive off of it. I mean, it seems like it's starting to get down to that point. My producer down in she's in a little town in Georgia. I guess the murder rate, stabbings, robberies, and everything else have just absolutely shot through the roof, even in rural towns.
And that's exactly why they're going to have to crack down, because as the economy drops down and they can afford to pay less and less to police stations to keep them operated, they're going to have to rely on the military, and it's going to be a different set of rules where they would come and they would arrest you and read your rights. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be, if you're looting someplace or whatnot, they're going to just shoot. They're going to shoot you first and ask questions later.
How close do you think we are to that?
I think we're probably pretty, that probably won't happen until, I think that they've got a pretty good plan for keeping the public buffaloed. Iran will probably spark up, and what'll most likely happen is they'll use World War III as a diversion to run to the bunkers. What better reason for the elites and all their cronies to run to the bunkers than nuclear warfare? They'll probably have a limited exchange of, something will happen, they'll blame it on Iran, and next thing you know, there'll be a couple nukes go off, the elites will run to their bunker, and then a big show will probably start then.
Do you think we're going to see an EMP attack along with that? That's one of the things that I am looking at, is that somebody's going to lob a nuke into orbit and send it off over the central United States. I mean, that's I can actually see that happening.
Well, I don't know yet. After researching this for years and years and years, I still haven't figured out whether the big wigs are working together totally, or whether there is opposition between China and the United States. Because you think about this. Most people have known that Israel has had undeclared nukes now for at least 10 years.
Right.
Okay. How comes Iran, with all this pressure that's coming on Iran, how comes they don't talk about that? How comes every time they get a microphone in their face, they're not asking why nobody's talking about Israel's undeclared nukes? So, to me, it makes me wonder why they're not bringing that out. Are they all working together? Is this all just one big play to keep us busy, or is there really opposition between these people?
That's I hadn't thought of that before. That's an interesting concept. But then again, they probably don't want to set Israel off and have them like, okay, that's it. Here we go.
Well, I mean, how comes none of Israel's enemies ever question their undeclared nuclear weapons? That just always struck me as weird. You would think that they'd be harping on that every day of the week that they possibly could, but they don't say anything about it, which leads me to believe that they don't say anything about it for a reason.
Yeah, that and the giving the Palestinians their own country and everything. I mean, it's just so bizarre. They don't talk about the nukes and the Iranian thing, the Arab Spring, and it's just crazy. I think that I gotta believe that all of this is somehow related to humanity going crazy when this 3,600-year cycle hits us.
Yeah, that's probably what all the zombie stuff is. I mean, even the CDC's releasing reports on zombie, and I was thinking about. I just put a report up on the Rabbit Hole website a couple weeks ago about that. I was trying to figure out how a zombie apocalypse could happen, and then you think about, you have 7 billion people on the planet, and everybody has to have a certain amount of calories every day to survive. Well, you have a axis shift, and all of a sudden the world's food supply gets thrown into chaos, and next thing you know, you've got 4 billion people that aren't eating. Well, what are they going to eat? What's the next biggest food supply on this planet after the cattle and all that disappear? Is human beings. So then once they start eating other people, then they start to get a disease. Oh, I can't remember. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember what it is, but it basically is like mad cow disease that's in humans. And this could be what the whole zombie thing is. It's just that you get hordes of starving people that have resorted to cannibalism, have become sick in the head from eating human meat.
According to your website, the name of the disease is called Kuru.
Kuru, there you go.
An incurable degenerative neurological disorder that is type transmittable by, spongy forms? What are those?
Little misaligned proteins, I guess, in the brain. It's how to explain it. It's not really a virus. It's some kind of deformed protein.
So we really could be facing a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's really, it's like, Planet X, the economy's falling apart, the powers that be are building Anubis statues out in Denver and giant underground shelters. Oh yeah, there's going to be a zombie apocalypse too. And it's real.
What apocalypse would be complete without zombies, though? I mean, you got to have zombies.
Actually, what's really funny is Cheaper Than Dirt is actually selling zombie rounds now.
Oh yeah, Mossberg makes a zombie survival kit that includes it's a waterproof tube that includes an ammo carrying case,
right,
emergency kit, and a Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun.
That's amazing. And I think that they call this the laughing disease in Africa, because people have bursts of laughing for no reason.
Yeah.
And they just start laughing and they basically go insane. There's another disease that is also a fungus, and they've found it on ants, I believe, and human beings get it too. And it basically gets into the brain, and it actually controls your action. It makes you do things that you wouldn't normally do. And this may actually be related to it.
Kind of like alcohol.
Yeah, kind of like alcohol, except, alcohol you can stop drinking. And apparently with this stuff, it's now you've got a whole page up here about this Kuru disease. What else do you know about it? Give us the synopsis, the Lucus 5-minute synopsis on this thing.
Well, basically, it's a disease that would leave a person shaking and affect their mind. It eats holes in the mind, kind of like mad cow does to cows. And so that could be a very possible explanation of where the zombie apocalypse will come from. Because, I mean, you think about, you have all these people, 7 billion. If you tried to count the 7 billion, it'd take you 261 years at one person per second. So many people are on the planet. And that is all really based upon the amount of food that's produced, and all of a sudden that just changes, and there's only enough food to produce for, say, a quarter of the planet, or 1/3 or half. Then you have that, people are going to eat people. If that's all that's available, it's proven time after time. The most civilized people, when they are forced with starvation, will eat the dead that are lying around. So it's it's going to happen again.
I've heard reports that they do that in North Korea in the prison camps.
Well, yeah, when they had the bad famine in North Korea back in the early 2000s, the Chinese businessmen were disappearing they were being snatched up and eaten.
Very tasty.
Yeah, a little soy sauce.
Look at the businessman.
Little soy sauce and some rice, and there you go. You got Chinese food.
You're good to go. Now, this Kuru disease, I'm also seeing on this article that you have up on rabbithole2.com. That's rabbithole2.com. Go and visit there today. The magnetic field fluctuations, the subatomic particles from space, and you got the Tower of Babel in there too, and that's an interesting point when you consider the crazy reporters on the air that just start all of a sudden speaking gibberish like we've been seeing over the past 6 months now.
Talking in tongues. That's probably where the mythology of talking in tongues comes from. You know, you had a situation where everybody, during the Tower of Babel episode, everybody forgot how to talk. You know, and it sounds like what's happening today on a limited basis with these reporters and all that. And I think it has to do with iron and magnetics and iron in the blood. And you'll notice that the majority of people it happened to were very fit-looking women. Okay, and the guy that happened to was also a fit-looking guy. These people are probably on strict diets. You know, their reporters are in front of the TV all day, so they're probably taking iron pills, and they probably have elevated levels of iron, and that's why. Same thing with Judge Judy. It happened to her too. So, you know, it probably has something to do with. That's what makes your blood red. Is iron. Is the iron in your blood is what makes it red.
So these magnetic shifts that we're seeing, the magnetic storms from the sun, the planet X coming towards us, moving our own magnetic pole. This is obviously affecting people in some way.
Well, yeah. I mean, your blood cells in your body have a polarity, just like a magnet does. They have a north and south pole. And that's based upon the Earth's north and south pole. And the Earth's north and south pole is based upon the sun's. And I have a feeling the whole thing is based upon the object in space. That's probably what regulates the magnetic pole shifts throughout the history of the world.
Have you ever read a book called Encounter with Tiber?
No, I haven't.
It is by the Apollo astronaut Buzz Aldrin. And I reread that last week. I had some downtime and I reread the book, and it almost seems like old Buzz there is trying to give us a message, because the book is about an alien civilization that once every 1,000 years or so a rogue planet in their system that they call the Destroyer comes and whacks their planet, and they knew the next one was going to be real bad, so they had to make some starships, and guess where they came?
Earth.
That would be to the Earth. And then they interacted with the early human beings. Their starship got destroyed, so they had to build some bases on the moon. And they attempted to terraform Mars, and they got as far as getting a lot of water on Mars before it dried out again. And that's an Apollo astronaut that wrote that book. I thought that was highly interesting.
Oh yeah, there's They know. Buzz Aldrin has an idea. I'm sure he knows what's going on. I suspect, you know, my own beliefs and what you'd call God or whatnot is that he probably puts every solar system with life in it in some sort of binary orbit to control the top species of the planet. Because you think about, we don't have anything to control us, to keep us from getting out of line. Every other creature on the planet has a regulator, you know, the predator-prey. And so eventually we end up becoming our own prey and predator at the top of the food chain like we are. That's why we have so much war. And I suspect that this object is what weeds out humanity, and the best of the best are going to survive, and we move on.
That's oddly, that's exactly what I've been thinking lately. Is that this thing, however I don't know if it's our binary star, part of our system, or if it was put there on purpose or what, but it sure seems like when this thing comes around, it sure weeds out humanity nice and neatly, like Noah. the Exodus, Atlantis, and all of the other civilizations before us. So what, your opinion, quick and dirty, do you think it was put there on purpose, or do you think it's a naturally occurring coincidence?
I think it was probably put there on purpose by the great creator of everything to keep our, the top. It's probably not just our system. It's probably, in fact, if you want to get into the whole UFO thing, that's probably why they're here. They're probably studying our thing to watch the situation go down, because they'll probably deal with the same thing. I think it was most likely put there on purpose. So, it looks like what happened after Atlantis 11,500 years ago is that those people had a very high technology, and some of them survived and managed to take weapons with them to other parts of the world, and they became gods. They became Zeus and Thor and what was that one?
The Viking guy.
Yeah, I can't remember. Lou. Yeah, they become those people with the magic weapons that nobody can go up against. So, I think that's where all that mythology comes from.
So, how much of, last question, because we're getting up to the top of the hour, and we agreed to do a 1-hour show unless you want to go over. How much of our technology do you think is going to survive? That's something that I've never been able to get anybody to address to my satisfaction. How much of what we have do you think is going to survive?
I don't know. To be honest, there's so many variables involved in that. We could get knocked with the people in Atlantis. It looked like they pretty much got knocked all the way back, and maybe there were little bits of technology that they were able to take through, but the brunt of everything that they were about was destroyed. And I think that we could get knocked back to a point where there may be no electricity, or we could get knocked all the way back to the point where there's maybe just 5, 6, 10,000 people left on the planet to repopulate humanity.
Wow, that's a bizarre thought right there. That many people dying. That's amazing. What do you very last question. What do you think is our time frame? What do you think we're going to be seeing here over the next 6 months or so as this thing gets closer and closer?
Well, I don't necessarily know if December 21st, 2012 is any given day, or if anything's going to happen on the day. I think we're going to see earthquakes pick up in March, and around the March 21st through, between March 20th and March 27th, we're going to see a major probably earthquake that's going to move the axis a little bit again. And then I think we can count on seeing more military being brought home and more nuclear reactor problems. I think that a lot of these nuclear reactor problems that we're seeing that are happening everywhere across the planet are just them trying to get prepared and get the nuke plants ready, because these things have to have electricity go to them 24/7. If you shut the electricity off to a nuke plant, then there's no water being pumped into the cooling towers, and these things melt down. So they've got to do something about these things.
Yeah, they do. There was another problem with another power plant. Where was it? It was either in Virginia or Georgia. I forget which. Over the past couple of days, the exact same thing that happened to the one just a couple of weeks ago, where they had some type of a problem, and they had to shut the thing down.
Yeah, there's something going on with all these nuke plants. I don't know what it is. I think they're getting them ready to do a quick shutdown, something like that. I don't know exactly, but they have to do something because there's so many of them. When the power goes out, these things are going to melt down all across the planet.
Yeah, not going to be a good day to be us, is it?
So I think that they're probably getting them ready to shut them down somehow, because they don't want to poison the face of the Earth for the next couple thousand years. They want to be able to come out of their bunkers in a few years and be able to reap the harvest of the planet. So they must be working on some kind of plan for these nuke plants.
Yeah, that's bizarre. But that's another discussion for another time, and we've come up to the top of the hour. So I want to thank you, sir, for coming back on the show. I really appreciate it. I think you've done a lot to help clear up some of the questions that we've been having about everything that's starting to happen right now, especially with the sounds and the 188-day cycle. What's your opinion on the where the next earthquake's going to hit?
I think probably somewhere on the west coast of either United States, Canada, Alaska, somewhere in that region probably. It's been the only place that's been spared on the Pacific plate from major earthquakes over the last couple of years. So I think that a lot of the pressure's been transferred over to that area probably.
Yeah. Well, Lucas, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It has been entertaining as always, and I think we've got a lot of information to chew on here. And this show will be up on the YouTube channel if YouTube doesn't decide to take it down like they have on some of our other shows. And we will have the MP3 in the audio rotation in the next couple of hours. So, Lucas, I thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on. Thanks.
Yep, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was our good friend Lucas from rabbithole2.com. That's rabbithole2.com, and the original Rabbit Hole, rabbithole.com. He has a blogger site as well. And don't forget to go over and visit our social site over at wakeupin2012.com. wakeupin2012.com. Thank you for showing up tonight. I really appreciate everybody showing up, and we will see you on our next show, which will be this Friday. We're going to be interviewing C.K. Quarterman, a book author that's going to tell us about the relationship between, UFOs, giants, and the Anunnaki, I believe. So tune in Friday night, 7 o'clock for that interview. It's going to be outstanding.